We have lots of people that are out serving other people all day, and then they come home and they're like, "Ugh, I just can't. I just don't have it in me." And they're so tired, and then they don't clean their own house and they don't do for themselves. And then they feel ashamed and they feel embarrassed and they're like, why can't I get my act together? So if you're one of those people, you are in the right place today because we have a Serenity Coach that's going to help women empower themselves to get from here through those hurdles. And I am super excited to have her here, Denise Bailel. So Denise, welcome to our show. How are you?
I'm very good. Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here with you and talk about a topic that is very dear to me, which is not only decluttering your house, but also decluttering your mind. So we'll get a little bit more in depth with that, but I'm super excited to be here.
Well, when you said decluttering your mind, that caught my attention because right now, and this is a sidebar of my personal life, but right now, my husband's parents are in the final stages of my father-in-law. He's with hospice right now, and it's a sad time. So there's a lot of frustration and anxiety and how do you say, knowing that there's going to be estate issues that have to be dealt with. And there's a whole lot that is on the table right now, and that's causing some angst. And we don't feel lots of serenity right now. So when I heard your topic, I was like, yes, we need this right now. We all need this because we're all at different areas of our lives and can use this. So
Yeah.
tell us, if you will, what is a Serenity Expert? How did you get in this field?
Absolutely. Yes. I became a Serenity Expert by life experience. I guess I could say it this way. I've been doing meditation for over 40 years. I've done lots of self-improvement workshop yearly for about 25 years, a little bit less in the last few years. But for the first 25 years, at least, of my journey of self improvement, I've done these self improvement classes. I've read tons of books on wellness and how to stay young and how not to grow old and how to become more at peace with your inner self and all of that. Like I've done all the course. I've taken lots of seminars and I've had lots of coaches that coaches me towards developing that skill. And at some point, I was working with people when I started coaching. I wanted to help people to help them move through the stage of when they have cancer and or degenerative disease, and to help them reverse that, to change their lifestyle, to move in a new direction, for them to know that they can support themselves and heal themselves. But what I realized, I was hitting a brick wall constantly because we know that the pharmaceutical industry, the doctor industry, they are very much into when someone is sick, there's like, oh, but my doctor told me I have to do this. I can't do what you recommend. And I was getting that all the time. So I was getting very frustrated that I was hitting that brick wall constantly. So what I've decided, okay, you guys don't want my help. So I'll go above that and I'll go to people that are still healthy, but experience a lot of stress in their life, because I realized over time that stress is a big precursor to illness and disease because it kills your immune system. And when your immune system is down, then you get sick, you get different things happening in your life. That was going above and beyond before people get sick. Let's work with me and deal with the stress you're dealing with right now so that moving forward, you won't carry that baggage and you won't get sick and you won't develop illness and disease because of the stress you've experienced in the last so many years. So that's how I became a Serenity Expert. And I'm so excited when I'm able to start working with someone. And like I've had an example, a lady, she was in depression. She was waiting to get chemo, radiation. She had a mammectomy and all of that. And she was so stressed out and depressed and in bed. And within 3 months, she chose not to do radiation and chemotherapy. And she moved into a holistic view and she became vibrant, excited, back to work, made a bunch of great decisions in her mind, decluttering her life and being able to have an amazing life and be happy. So when I have these situations happening to me, just by relieving the stress, you peel out a lot of the dirt that is cluttering your mind. And at the same time, she did declutter her house. She did kick the kids out of the house. She did a whole bunch of things that allowed her to be whole with herself and be able to move forward in her own life with the decision that she wanted to have and not be a victim of everybody else's decision.
You just said so many things that I want to unpack. I just love this. And I love the fact that you are bringing up a story of a woman who had illness and she decided to make a change.
Mm.
And I want to know, based on your experience, how easy is it for somebody who's kind of stuck in a rut and they're feeling helpless, or they're feeling overwhelmed, or they're feeling like, I have just been doing this for so long, it's impossible for me to change? How
Mhm.
does someone go from being physically ill with their immune system weakened and saying, wait a second, I do want to make a change and I'm going to do this? How do they do that?
Well, the first step is to make that decision. What I've learned over my years of all the teaching I receive is that change is immediate, but the path you take to get to this resolution, it takes dedication and time. But the change goes in here first. If you make that decision, and if you know why you're making that decision, and if you're firm with why you want to make that decision. Like for her, there was no question. She didn't want to end up being in bed or dying from repercussion of cancer. And she was at the end of her rope. She was at the bottom, like however you want to call that. And then we talked and she said, yeah, I want to get better. And it didn't happen overnight, but it happened every day, every week, little increment. And so when people make that decision, when people are seeing that there's a tiny little bit light at the end of the tunnel where there's a possibility that I can get better, and hang on to that light. And as you move forward, as you make little tiny changes in your life, whether it is through your relationship, if you have toxic people in your life, and that's part of my spring cleaning for the mind, is like, what are the things that are clouding your mind? What are the things that are putting weight on your shoulders? What are you carrying with you daily that drags you down, that is not supportive for you? It could be people. It could be action that you end up doing, like smoking or eating bad food. It could be relationship that you have. It could be bad habit. So once you write down and decide that, okay, these things are detrimental for my health, these things are my mental health as much as physical health, these things are not helping me, they're not supporting me, and I want to make a change. Once you make that decision in here, then it's just a question of having accountability for making the changes that you've decided. And that goes for everything. If you want to reduce your weight, if you want to have a better health, if you want to have better relationship. I always tell people that wanted me to coach them for weight reduction, I always say, reducing your weight start here. It doesn't start with what you put in your mouth. It doesn't start with the amount of exercise you do. You have to have it here. Once it's there, and once you see yourself where you want to be, it's a lot easier.
This was amazing. Thank you so much, Denise. And thanks everybody who tuned in today. And I just really appreciate the support that you have provided us. Because of you, we keep showing up week after week. And again, until then, please live a life of peace and serenity.
Thank you.